Hi there! I drive a 2022 Hyundai Ioniq 5, which you very well may already know because I've been something of a booster for the car. I was one of the first people in my area to get one, likely because I put a deposit down for one the moment I heard about it. The styling is very much my jam. I've been a fan of Hyundai and Kia for a while. It seems like they're doing some really innovative stuff. The 800-volt battery architecture and incredibly fast DC fast charging means it's a pretty future-proof car, and it's the class of vehicle I wanted, so it was kind of a no-brainer. And over the last 3.5 years, I have had a lovely ownership experience, and virtually nothing has gone wrong with the car. Literally nothing has gone wrong with the car except its original 12-volt battery failed over January. I replaced it. This did mean I had to jump the car with a jump pack a couple of times. To me, that's no big deal because I keep a jump pack and I know how to do that, but I understand other people might be more troubled when they go out to their car and it's dead. So I'm just gonna lay my cards on the line that to me, that's not a big deal, but to other people it might be. But literally, that's the only thing that has happened to the car in the time that I've owned it. That is, until 2 months ago, when the letters ICCU reared their ugly head. If you've done any research into these cars, you may already know about the ICCU and how problematic this little bugger has been. But I haven't wanted to make any sort of video on it because I didn't really understand how prevalent this is. And Hyundai and Kia have claimed that it's only affecting 1% of cars, and I didn't have any reason to not believe that. Well, now I have reason to not believe that. And before you think, oh, that's rich, you didn't care till this happened to you. Oh wait, there's more. My brother has a 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 6, and about a week after this happened to my car, it happened to his car. And both of us had the software updates that Hyundai has trying to be patching to hopefully make this problem not happen. Actually, for me, the timing was fairly suspicious because I had the update like a month before this occurred. That's probably just a fluke. But anyway, Hyundai's response to this has been really, really bad. They're bungling this in all sorts of ways. And Hyundai, you really need to get on top of this before you have influencers talking about their bad oh wait, too late for that! But I'll tell you what, if you get manual battery preconditioning added for those of us that have 2024 and older Ioniq models, I'll make a video right away thanking you for that and explaining how awesome it is that you've listened to your customers. So that's my little ultimatum here for you. I don't know if you call it an ultimatum, but I'll be nice to you again once you do that. But for right now, I'm letting everybody know about just how badly you are handling this, because it's bad. Let me tell you what I think Hyundai needs to do. The real problem is there's a parts shortage. Replacement parts are back-ordered, and that meant I didn't have my car for a little over a month. Now, in fairness, my dealer gave me a loaner, but we'll talk about what happened to my brother, because, yeah. So my experience wasn't all that bad. But still, I was without my car for over a month, and my loaner was an Elantra, which, fine. But it's not electric, so, you know, couldn't use my charging station or cheap fuel. Yeah, bit of a bummer. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that, but what's really annoying is Hyundai and Kia are making these cars still. Their factories are churning them out real fast, which means these parts are being produced in numbers, but they're building them into new cars rather than slowing production at the plants to take care of all the dead cars that are at dealers. I know that capitalism means Hyundai's not going to slow production, but come on, guys! So let's back up to when the incident occurred, and I'm going to explain when this happened to me because it was surprisingly similar circumstances between my brother and myself, and that might be helpful information for either engineers at Hyundai or just other people who have these cars. And I'll also explain what the part actually is and why, if it weren't for the parts shortage, I wouldn't consider this that big of a deal. So the ICCU, it stands for Integrated Charging Control Unit, and it's a module that sits underneath the back seat, and it's a pretty impressive piece of engineering. This one part handles the DC to DC conversion, so it takes the high voltage battery pack, or the traction battery pack voltage, which is near 800 volts, and converts it down to the 14-ish to charge the 12-volt battery. It also does the inversion for the vehicle to load function, and it is also the onboard battery charger. So it basically handles electricity. This one thing handles it all. And What's happening is, it seems to be, from what I've heard, there is a MOSFET, a type of transistor inside of there, that will short out when a voltage spike occurs or something. I don't know, but when it shorts out, it blows the pyrotechnic fuse inside the unit, and then your car will be disabled. Because effectively, the equivalent to this thing for an internal combustion engine car is the alternator. And so when it fails, the car can no longer charge the 12-volt battery, and because all the computer systems run off of the 12-volt battery, it gives you a warning right away that you need to pull over and your car is gonna die soon. So it's a major failure when it happens. I want to be clear, it disables the car. But if the part were at the dealer, this would be a 3 or 4 hour fix. So it wouldn't be that terrible of an experience if parts were available. But parts are not available because they're very back ordered. And Hyundai is not being forthcoming on why that is. The most up-to-date information you can get is from Reddit, which is redonkulous. So strike one. But what happened was, and I was away from home when this happened, which was annoying, but turned out to be fortuitous because of the loaner situation. I was backing down a driveway. Actually, I had just been charging the car. Sorry, I wasn't just charging the car. It was charging overnight. I was staying away from home. But it was at 79%, and I was backing down a driveway. I believe just before I shifted into drive, I heard the pop of the pyrotechnic fuse. Just so people know, I've heard it's very loud. It's not that loud. I honestly thought something just shifted in the cargo area. It wasn't until a second or two later that it went da 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 da, and the car starts freaking out that I realized, oh, that's what that was. So in a way, it happened in the best possible circumstances for me. I wasn't on the road because it just happened. I just pulled up the driveway, called Hyundai Roadside Assistance, and they sent a tow truck right away, which took the car to a dealer. That part of the experience went fine, and thankfully I have no issues, nothing bad to say about Hyundai Roadside Assistance, and I was not charged for any of this, so that's good. But basically the same thing happened for my brother. He had just turned on the car, and either he doesn't remember if he was in reverse or if he was about to shift into reverse, but both of us had this happen right after turning on the car. And I don't remember if he had charged his car the night before or not, so sorry. If I find out, I'll pin a comment. And so when the failure occurs, your car is going to be disabled until it gets a replacement part. Now, Hyundai has been trying to issue software updates to fix this problem. I should have known that's not going to work because, my mom and dad have a Chevy Bolt, and they tried so hard to get software updates to magically fix the physical defect in the battery pack before they realized, yeah, you can't have software fix a physical defect, which is probably what's going on in the case of the modules. Likely there's a quality control issue somewhere in the supply chain, and Hyundai and Kia are just not being forthcoming about it. I don't know. That's all speculation. But the important thing is, it happened. So now I'm going to talk about the Hyundai customer care experience and how crap it is. Now, I want to be clear, I had no problems with my customer care agents. Everyone I either spoke to over the phone or wrote via email correspondence was lovely. But they can't do anything. And I don't know if that's because the people I was talking to weren't trying, though I suspect it's just Hyundai doesn't have any systems in place which helped this happen. The reason I say that is because here's how I found out my car was fixed. I called the dealer because the loaner they gave me, the paperwork I had, indicated I needed to renew it. So I said, hey, I think I need to renew the loaner. What do I need to do that? And they said, oh, your car's fixed. You can come pick it up anytime. We were about to call you. They made it sound like it had been fixed for a couple of days. I'm not going to litigate that. The important thing is, my customer care rep had no idea that the car was fixed, and it gets even funnier because about 5 days later, I got an email from her saying, we are still waiting on an ETA for the part. I'll give you an update as soon as possible. So the case manager, the case number, the dealer apparently does not do anything with the customer care cases. It's mind-numbing. And you can't talk to the customer care people aren't like trying to figure out for you, where is a part? How soon can we get a part? They were waiting for an ETA from the dealer. Every time I would talk to them, they would say, I've called the dealer, they don't have an ETA yet. I'm like, why don't you have a way to contact whatever parts department within Hyundai sends these parts to dealers? And it's just maddening. So the customer care people, they just don't know what's going on. And it's really, really frustrating that it's just like, what systems are in place here to be on top of this? It's utter madness. And what gets even better, and this is why it's really fortunate that this happened to both me and my brother, because we get to talk about how stupid these systems are. My car failed a week prior. His car got fixed a week before mine did. Explain that! I think I can explain that. The customer care people literally do not have any sort of queue system going to make sure that the cars that have been broken the longest get their parts the soonest. I mean, I'm happy for my brother that he got his fixed first, and I had a better situation because I had a loaner. But again, maddening. This whole situation was just like, why is everything so broken? Why is the world so broken? I get really annoyed at customer service failures because I used to work in the hotel industry, and it was my job to fix people's problems then and there. Like, my job was to figure out how to fix things. That might explain something about why I make the videos that I do. But anyway, it's just so frustrating that the world is so crap as far as how these systems work, and there really isn't any sort of ownership when there are problems anymore. It's just pass the thing on to the next person. It's really frustrating. But I need to talk about what happened to my brother, because in his case, it's even dumber. I think I mentioned I was away from home when this happened to me, which ended up being fortuitous because I was not very close to the city of Chicago, and the dealer that it was taken to was, I would call rural, ex-urban at best, and they had plenty of loaners to give. I know that my dealer that I normally go to, it's pulling teeth to get them to give you a loaner. And my brother, who lives near San Diego, couldn't get a loaner. Now, Hyundai, when that happens, will tell you, rent a car and we will reimburse you some amount for the rental car. But he had a hell of a time getting that reimbursement because the customer care agent that he was working with either was fired or quit or went on vacation, and it took like 10 days for Hyundai's systems to, he kept calling, and they were like, oh, we're waiting for your representative. It took like 10 days for them to realize, oh, you've been waiting on this for 10 days, we're gonna send you to somebody else. It's so bad. He did get his rental fees reimbursed, but it's just like, nobody seems to care that the car that you bought and you have warranted is now broken, and you should try to make the experience, in the hospitality industry, we call this service recovery. And when there is a failure, you need to execute service recovery, so that way you make it better. And, well, Hyundai doesn't know how to do that, and they need to get better at that. So, that's basically what I wanted to make this video about. I don't know whether or not Hyundai and Kia are, if they've gotten to the bottom of this problem yet, which is more of the annoying things. We don't really know what exactly the problem is. They're not really talking about it. There is a NHTSA complaint or campaign, or, I don't remember the details, but it's been recalled several times because this disables the car. And they've been trying to fix it, but the fix needs to be new parts. And they need to make new parts which are hopefully fixed, because the other thing is a lot of people have had this failure happen multiple times. And so it's kind of like, well, Hyundai, until you give us some engineering explanation for what was happening and when you figured out how to fix this problem and what part, manufacture date is after that point, we're all just in the dark playing a fun little game of roulette with this part. So I heard rumors that the version made after the last couple months, like probably the one that I have in my car, is a revision, but I don't know. And, you know, I'm not about to tear out the back seat to actually look at the part. I mean, it might not be that difficult, but I don't care that much. It's not like I'm going to get them to replace it anyway. This is just all sorts of bad, and Hyundai, you got so much stuff you need to take ownership of and fix. Now, I'm giving Hyundai grace here because Hyundai and Kia were very brave to move to an 800-volt architecture, and electronics, which can handle the 800 volts, it's more like 750, but there are voltage spikes from the motors and stuff. Electronics that can handle that voltage are kind of rare, and who knows what supplier they're using to get these parts. And there's probably just a quality control issue, but they're not being public about it because they don't, of course they want to be hush-hush about there's this problem. But it's very annoying because it means everything is just speculation. So yeah, Hyundai and Kia, but I speak mainly of Hyundai because I have the Hyundai version. They're like 90% great, but the 10% that's left, they need to have some soul searching and just figure this out. Because, man, the worst thing is just being in the dark about this and the fact that it really seems like they're just trying to push this under the rug. And they shouldn't, because they've made an excellent car that has a known problem that nobody even knows if it has truly been fixed yet. We know the software updates don't seem to help because my car was up to date when this happened. So, and it's just, unfortunately, you know, it's kind of hard for me to recommend a used Hyundai Ioniq 5 or eGMP car right now, just because who knows with the old ICCUs when this is going to fail. And also, one thing that I don't know how many people know about Hyundai and Kia is that their really great warranty only applies to the first owner. So if you buy a used Hyundai, you don't get that 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. It's, I think, knocked down to 5-year, 60. I'm going to fact check this before I post the video, but this was the case for a long time. So that's a point against buying a used one. But the bigger issue is until Hyundai explains, we know what this problem is, we know how to fix it, and also hopefully they would extend warranty coverage on this part for longer than whatever the typical warranty is. It's hard for me to recommend getting a used Ioniq 5 right now. I think the new ones, from what it seems like, probably have a revised version of this part, but I have also, I believe there have been some 2025s that have had the ICCU fail. So, yeah. So that's all that I have for you today. I am pretty sure that that covers everything. And to be clear, part of why I didn't talk about this until I got my car back, I've had it back for 2 or 3 weeks now. I've just been busy catching up on stuff. I didn't want to try to pull my weight around and make a video about, oh, my car is dead, and try to get this sped up in any way. I wanted to know what the experience is actually like for most people that have this happen to them. And it's great to know that how quickly you're going to get a replacement depends on where you live. And the customer care people just do not care about when this happened to you. They don't seem to have any way to prioritize, to triage, to get parts where they should be. It's just, you know what, Hyundai, you need to fix this. And it's kind of just, it's difficult to recommend the cars right now until you figure this out and you're public about what you figured out. Because right now, everybody's just in the dark and waiting for one day to hear that pop and the car to go nuts and for you to need a tow truck. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to keep updating you on the car. Now that I've had it repaired, it's back to normal. Nothing seems amiss. I tested the vehicle to load function just to make sure that that worked. I don't know why it wouldn't, but everything else seems to be working fine. And also I should explain, I suspect the reason the original 12-volt battery died so early is because for the first year, the software that was on the ICCU would let the 12-volt battery get quite low before it woke up the high voltage system to recharge it. And after that update, I can see when it's charging the 12-volt battery because the shutters, the active grille shutters open up and there's an orange light on the dashboard. And it happens way more frequently than it did the first year that I bought the car. Like after year 1, after this software update, it now tops up the 12-volt battery like twice within a workday. So I think they've probably largely fixed that. I don't know that for a fact, but I suspect that's why the original battery only lasted 3 years. But it does seem like Hyundai and Kia have some 12-volt battery management problems, which is quite strange because my mom and dad's Chevy Bolt, I changed it for them. The original 12-volt battery was there until this spring. So it went 8 years on its original 12-volt battery. It does have an AGM battery from the factory. Maybe that's the only difference, but I'm skeptical that AGM is really that critical for electric cars. A lot of people will say they all need to have an AGM battery that's absorbed glass mat. From what I understand about lead-acid battery chemistry and the fact that if you keep it topped up in charge, they don't really wear that much. I'm kind of skeptical about that, but whatever. It's just another point to say that Hyundai and Kia have something's weird about the way they do the 12-volt battery management, and that's been a known issue for a long time. I don't know whether or not they've got that fixed, but that is largely a software thing, I think, and it seems the way it's handling it now makes more sense, but we'll see. I bought the cheapest Walmart battery, knowing that who knows how long it's gonna last, and it's easy for me to replace it. But also, because I had the ICCU failure happen, I don't know whether the dealer it was sitting at for a month waiting on this part bothered to disconnect the 12-volt battery, and I still have the original battery. Actually, that reminds me, when my brother got his car towed to the dealer, they refused to diagnose it until they replaced the 12-volt battery, which I have no idea why. Like, the dealer that my car went to was just like, yeah, your ICCU's failed. I'm like, I could have told you that. But his dealer was like, no, we can't diagnose it until we get a new 12-volt battery. And they didn't have the exact part, so he didn't even get a diagnosis for 3 or 4 days. Yet still got his car fixed before mine. That felt great. Anyway, thanks for coming to this therapy session with me. I still really like the car, and if Hyundai and Kia fix this problem and add manual battery preconditioning, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. But right now, it's a bit harder to recommend. I'll just put it that way. I wouldn't say you should not consider it. I have decent faith that eventually they're going to take care of this problem for real and explain to us what happened. But we've been in the dark about this for far too long, and their strategies for trying to fix it haven't worked. And the parts are still incredibly backordered, despite the fact that they're building new cars. So that's just, salt in the wound right there. If they could just slow down the factory by 10%, get some more of those ICCUs out to dealers. That's how you earn goodwill, Hyundai. You need that. I don't know if you've heard about this other electric car manufacturer and what poor goodwill does to sales. I want to keep that in mind. Anyway, bye.